Wagwan, Jamaica. Welcome to today's episode of Consular Conversations. I'm your host, Davel, and I have with me today my fantastic colleagues, Rohan and Morgan.
Hi.
So today we will be discussing Consular Report of Birth Abroad. So I'm going to go right over to my colleagues. Can you guys tell me what is a Consular Report of Birth Abroad? When I say that, what am I referring to?
Of course, yeah. A consular report of birth abroad, also commonly called a CRIBA, is a document that formally certifies your child who was born abroad as a U.S. citizen. So any Americans that give birth outside the United States can apply for a CRIBA, a consular report of birth abroad, that basically states that their child has been a U.S. citizen from birth. It's similar to a birth certificate, but not a birth certificate, not a replacement of a birth certificate, just something that certifies their citizenship.
Okay. Great. Now, Rohan, can you tell me what qualifies a child for a consular report of birth abroad?
Sure. Great question. Pretty much what qualifies children of American citizens overseas to become a U.S. citizen are, for the parent, time lived in the United States over a specific period of time. I think a total of 5 years is required. The individual must be able to substantiate paternity, either through DNA testing as may be required, or substantiating whether or not that child was born to the parents that are claiming citizenship.
And as a note about the 5 years that parents must spend in the States, it doesn't need to be continuous 5 years. It can be 5 years kind of pieced together over any amount of time, as long as it's before the child was born.
Right.
Okay, great. Okay, how do I apply for the CRIBA? Or well, I should say consular report of birth abroad. How do I apply?
Yeah, so you can apply online. It is $100 as of now to apply. And we recommend you do it as soon as possible after the child is born, just so you can get the process started and so you can get all the necessary documentation for a child. There's an e-CRIBA, like an electronic CRIBA application online at travel.state.gov, and you'll have to go into a portal, create an account, and then apply. And once you apply, you'll email us at the Kingston ACS at state.gov, or sorry, Kingston CRIBA, Kingston CRBA at state.gov, and let them know that you've applied, and we'll set up your interview. You do have to come in and interview for a CRIBA as well.
Okay, great. So we're going to move right into some questions. We're very busy on the internet. We have a couple of questions. Our first question is from Reggie. Reggie from Facebook is asking, he recently booked his K1 fiancé interview. However, he heard that there is a suspension of immigrant visas. Oh, this is an immigrant visa question. He's asking if that suspension is applicable to him.
So right now there is a suspension on immigrant visas. However, it does not apply to K1 fiancé visas. So if that's the visa that he is applying for, it should be able to move forward. He should come to his interview as planned. But actually, anyone who has an interview for any immigrant visa should come to the interview as scheduled. Even though they can't be approved right now, we're still interviewing people for all their immigrant visas.
Okay, thank you, Morgan. Moving on, another question. Tanya from X states that she's coming in tomorrow. So she's coming in with her son for the consular report of birth abroad interview, but she has misplaced his certificate. She wants to know if a copy will be good enough to bring in tomorrow when she gets here.
Copy of the birth certificate?
A copy of the birth certificate.
We generally require original documentation. However, the interview will proceed as normal. And if there are additional requirements in terms of needing her to get us the actual original documentation, there can be time allowed for that.
Okay, Tanya, so you're good to go. You may come in with your copy tomorrow. Okay, another question. Jody from X. Jody is a U.S. citizen, and Jody wants to know how she report the birth of her child in Jamaica.
Yeah, go online to travel.state.gov and go to the e-CRIBA, electronic CRBA portal, and that's where you'll start the process, and it'll tell you what documents you need to get together. You'll fill out the application, pay your $100, and then schedule an interview with the U.S. Embassy.
All right, and the documentation that you're uploading should be documentation showing primarily your time lived in the United States. Could be documents such as school certificates, job-related documentation showing that you may have worked at a particular facility for a period of time, but anything, as Morgan indicated earlier, that shows time resided in the United States, even if you were in the US.
Undocumented.
Prior to the child being born, as long as it is time documented for before the child was born, then it accounts for time.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, thank you. So I have a question. It's not related to the consular report of birth abroad, but Carrie from Facebook wants to know Carrie wants to know how does she send an email to change from a F2B category to a F1 category? I think this is a migrating question.
It depends what stage of the process your application is in. Without knowing the specifics of your case, if you want to change the category of your visa, you can either reach out to USCIS if your application is with USCIS. However, if your application has already been sent to the embassy for processing, then you'll need to reach out to the embassy via the Visa Navigator portal, which is on the U.S. Embassy website, us.js. We'll put the email on the page, but yes, you'll find the Visa Navigator tool on the website, and then you'll be able to be connected to the right person.
Okay. Kamar from Instagram wants to know, he's a parent, his child was born in Jamaica. He wants to know if his US passport is proof for his citizenship in the US, if that only can suffice when he comes to the scriba for his child.
So of course your US passport is proof of citizenship. However, the US passport alone does not substantiate time spent in the US. As I indicated before, you must be able to substantiate your time lived in the United States for at least 5 years in total. Even if it is broken up into parts, you must be able to provide us with information showing that you would have lived in the United States. So the US passport really only accounts for your proof of citizenship.
Okay, noted. Thank you, Kamar. I hope you're listening, Kamar. That's very important. We have another question from Donna B. Donna B is asking whether a U.S. citizen father need the permission or a signature from the child's mother to apply for the consular report of birth abroad.
So generally, both parents are required to participate in the process. It's not mandatory, but it's highly suggested. The mother, because at the end of the day, when the certificate is produced, both parents' names appear on the certificate. So it's a best practice to include both parents for the process, for the entire process.
And oftentimes when someone's applying for a CRIBA, they also apply for a U.S. passport at the same time, because a CRIBA is not a U.S. passport, it's not a travel document. But if you're applying for a CRIBA and a U.S. passport, both parents absolutely need to be present. If it's just the CRIBA, like Rohan said, it's best practice, but not necessarily required that the non-U.S. citizen parent is there.
Okay, thank you, Rohan. Earlier you mentioned that the U.S. parent must prove that they have been in the U.S. for 5 years. What documents do they bring when they come here for an interview to prove that they have been in the U.S. for more than 5 years?
So there are several documentation, bits of documentation that one might be able to provide. For starters, as I indicated earlier, school documentation, if you attended high school, because your time served, I believe, after age 14 does account for time. So high school certificates, college degrees, any other form of schooling, work documentation, lease agreements. Are there any other documents?
Tax records.
Tax records, yes.
Yeah, and as Rohan mentioned, it's 5 years total, but 2 years have to be after the age of 14. So if you only went to primary school in the States and then you left and you've never been back, that would not be sufficient for you to transfer your citizenship.
Okay, thank you. Omar wants to know, his son is 18, but he is a U.S. citizen. He wants to know if his son will qualify for the consular report of birth abroad if you take him in for an interview.
No, it doesn't. You can document only minors under the consular report of birth abroad.
But that doesn't mean his son isn't necessarily a U.S. citizen. He could still qualify for U.S. citizenship. He just wouldn't qualify under the consular report of birth abroad. It would be a slightly different process, but he could still qualify.
Okay, great. And remind the audience again, how do one apply to qualify for a CRIBA or consular report of birth abroad?
Yeah, so visit travel.state.gov, and within that website, there is the eCRIBA portal where you will pay the $100 fee, submit your information and your documentation, and then once you've completed that, you'll reach out to Kingston CRBA at state.gov to schedule your in-person interview.
Okay, thank you. Oh, Sunkiss Bell from Twitter wants to know what is the wait time for a CRIBA appointment?
That's actually a brilliant question. There are, the Consular Report of Birth Abroad is a unique process. Currently, there are no wait times. The appointments are generally on a Wednesday, and I think Morgan mentioned earlier that we generally schedule those interviews. Those interviews are currently at no wait time, zero wait time. If you get on right now, upload your information, we may very well be able to get you an appointment for next Wednesday.
Okay, now that leads me to my next question. Teresha from YouTube wants to know, after applying for the Consular Report of Birth Abroad, how long does the process take? So there's no wait time, but after I apply, how long do I have to wait?
So once a consular officer adjudicates a Consular Report of Birth Abroad case successfully, the turnaround time for the actual documentation to be in your hand is around about 4 weeks. Yeah. 2 to 4 weeks thereabout, yes.
And it also is really dependent on the applicant. If you come to the interview fully prepared with all your necessary documentation, you could be approved same day. But if you are lacking the evidence of your time spent in the U.S. and lacking documentation, that can just make the process go longer and longer and while we wait for that. So it's really up to you. If you come prepared, it can be a quick process.
Okay, thank you for that, Morgan. My next question, we have Chrissy from Facebook. So Chrissy has 2 children. Her eldest child already qualified for the Consular Report of Birth Abroad. She has a younger child. She wants to know if she can reuse the previous document that she used for her first child for her second child.
So based on how it is now done, and it used to be done differently previously, the documentation has to be uploaded into the system. So the documentation for the child now being documented must be uploaded. The one for the child that was already adjudicated would have already been over and done with. So Chrissy would need to upload new documentation. Clearly some of the same documentation, substantiating time spent in the US, but it has to be re-uploaded.
Okay. Chrissy, I hope you heard that. Mm-hmm. So moving on to our next question, we're very busy on the media today. We have Sean from Facebook. So Sean is having technical issues with the online portal. He wants to know if the embassy can provide IT assistance for him.
Without knowing the specifics of the issues you're having, it's hard to say, but you're welcome to reach out to us to see how we can help. I don't know if you have any other...
You can... Well, I'd suggest that you give it a break, maybe try to do it again later today. I know for a fact that the system is up and running. We utilized it earlier today. And I would suggest that you just give it a break. But in the meantime, what I would suggest that you could do is to go ahead and email us the documentation that you're trying to upload at kingston.crba@state.gov, just so we can see what you have and make suggestions in an email response to you.
Okay, so we're moving right along. We have another question from Meryl on Instagram. Oh, this is a very important question. Meryl wants to know if the Consular Report of Birth Abroad is the same as a U.S. birth certificate.
It is not. It is similar in that it's looks the same, very formal documentation, but it's simply documenting your status as a U.S. citizen, whereas a birth certificate is documenting like legal parentage, who your parents are when you're born. That's not what the CRIBA is used for. However, it is sometimes used in a similar instances in the States. You can use it like when registering your child for certain things, but no, they're not the same. It's not in place of a U.S. birth certificate. And in fact, because your child in this case would be born in Jamaica, they would have a Jamaican birth certificate and then also a U.S. CRIBA as well.
Okay, thank you for that, Morgan. So Daniel on IG is currently in the United States, but his son is living in Jamaica. Daniel wants to know, what does he need to provide to the embassy so the appointment can proceed in his absence?
Yeah, so although we like to have the U.S. citizen parent available at the interview, and so if he can fly down, that would be great. He can instead send what is called a DS 5504. It's a document that he signs and completes stating his time spent in the U.S., and he has to get that notarized. So it has to be notarized by a U.S. notary, or if he's somewhere else in the world, then it has to be notarized by the U.S. embassy where he's residing. But if it's possible that he can fly down, that would be great. We do love to have the U.S. citizen parent at the interview.
Okay, great. Thank you, Morgan. Our next question is from 876 Young Twin on Twitter. 876 Young Twin is asking, he's saying that his family is asking if he can combine his child's consular report of birth abroad interview with his spouse's visa interview. Oh, so this is an ACS and an immigrant visa twist here. He would like to do everything at the same time. He wants to use one stone to kill every bird. Okay.
That's interesting. I suppose, and this is the non-immigrant visa that he's referring to, or an immigrant visa?
He did not specify.
Okay, so either way, if you are able to get an immigrant visa appointment for the same day that your consular report of birth abroad appointment is, then kudos to you. You'll probably be very lucky if that happens. But if your spouse has an immigrant visa interview on a particular day, you can write to us in email requesting that particular date for that particular reason, and we'll certainly take a look at that for sure.
Yeah, the CRIBA is a much more flexible interview to schedule, whereas the immigrant visa and the non-immigrant visa interviews are pretty set in stone, and those are harder to change.
Okay. Anointed Nikki Ingram from Facebook is asking, she's saying her U.S. citizen parent became a citizen 3 years ago. She's asking, does the kid's 9 and 16-year-old qualify for the CRIBA here? Our consular report of birth abroad.
Sorry, she has a 9 and 7-year-old children.
9 and 16, but the parent became a citizen 3 years ago, and she wants to know if the kids will qualify for the consular report of birth abroad.
So to qualify for a consular report of birth abroad, the parent must have been a citizen prior to the birth of the child. So the parent became a citizen after the child was born, then the consular report of birth abroad will not be successfully processed for that parent or child. You must have been a citizen before the kid was born.
And in that case, that parent could apply for an immigrant visa for their children, and that's an IR2 class, so minor child of a U.S. citizen.
Right.
Okay, Nikki, I hope we answered your question. We have another question from a Nikisha on Facebook. This is a visa-related question. Nikisha is asking, if a parent filed for her underage kids and they have interviews next month, are they able to travel after interviewing?
I'm assuming they're talking about an immigrant visa. Yeah, it depends, how the interview goes. If the interview goes and they're approved, it usually takes about 10 days to get the green card, like the visa in the passport for immigration purposes. So I guess it just depends how your interview goes. Hopefully it goes well.
She's saying she's hearing some rumors about a ban on immigrant visas interviewing, if we could address that.
You're right. Thank you so much for saying that. So yes, like I said, that there's a pause on all immigrant visas. But however, there are exceptions for the K-1 visa. And then depending on your interview, there could be exceptions for IR2s, which are minor applicants of U.S. citizens, minor children. But that is a case by case. That just depends on your interview. So when you get here, talk to the consular officer who's interviewing you and see what's available for you. But if you are able to be approved, it takes about 10 days.
Okay. So Sharika from Facebook is asking, her son's father is a U.S. citizen, but he's unwilling to help her apply for the consular report of birth abroad. She's asking if she can apply alone.
That's a good one.
Yeah, so the U.S. citizen parent does need to fill out certain paperwork for the CRIBA and also provide the documentation of their time in the U.S. So it is a really difficult process to do without the consent of the U.S. citizen parent. If you are having issues with your U.S. citizen parent, you can reach out to a lawyer to see if they'd be able to assist you. But the U.S. citizen parent is required to be part of the process.
The key there is the information required is solely based or surrounds the U.S. citizen parent. So that parent is absolutely integral in that process.
Okay. Thank you for that answer, Rohan and Morgan. Kayla Donwright is asking, can siblings apply or file on behalf of their U.S. parents if they have all the information? Another visa question.
Are you asking if siblings can apply
Siblings
for it?
can apply or file on behalf of their U.S. citizen parents if they have all the information. I'll assume she's asking about filing a petition, an immigrant visa petition.
Yeah, I think, any U.S. citizen needs to be involved in the process if they're petitioning for their children or, their parents or whatnot. I don't know the specifics of what she's asking, but yeah, I don't think you can apply on anyone's behalf.
Okay. All right. We have this is an interesting question. Contrast Kirk from X is asking if he could request an appointment in Montego Bay or Cayman Islands and not Kingston for his consular report of birth abroad.
Yes, both our consular agencies in Montego Bay and the Cayman Islands do take and facilitate consular reports of birth abroad applications. Our contact details, do we have the contact details on the screen? For the consular agencies, will facilitate the applications. I believe that, the submissions are identical to how you submit the applications in Kingston. You upload the documentation, your proof of time, proof of citizenship, various identifying documentation from both parents. And once it gets to that particular email, once you email the relevant consular agency, then they will take a look at it and they will arrange an appointment for you as well, similarly to how it is done in Kingston.
Yeah. And the email addresses for those, I think it's mobayacs@state.gov and caymanacs@state.gov. I will say the process is a little bit longer through the agencies because they have to send the documentation to Kingston for us to review and approve here in Kingston, and then we send it back. So if you can come to Kingston, it might be a slightly quicker process for you, but yes, they can be done in our consular agencies.
Okay, so we have another visa question today. Checker Bernard from Facebook is asking, she has a visiting visa. She wants to know if her son will be eligible for one as well.
Every visa is adjudicated on a case-by-case basis. So the only way to find out if your son qualifies is to bring him in for an interview and talk to a consular officer.
Okay. Check, I hope you answered that question. And we have another question. Somebody's asking for us to repeat. They don't have the contact information for the consular agency. They're asking if we can provide an email address for the contact in Montego Bay, that is.
Our Montego Bay Consular Agency can be reached at mobay, mobayacs@state.gov.
Okay. All right. Can you remind the audience again, how do they apply for the consular report of birth abroad?
Go online to travel.state.gov, find the electronic e-CRIBA portal, and then you'll upload your documentation there, pay the $100 fee, and then reach out to Kingston CRBA@state.gov to schedule your interview.
Okay. And a very important question. Somebody is asking, is the fee $90 or $100 to apply for the consular report of birth abroad?
The consular report of birth abroad fees are $100 square up.
Okay, thank you.
And as Morgan indicated earlier, in the same process, in the same breath, you can apply for a U.S. passport for the child. And for minors under 16, passport charges are $135. For minors 16 and above, it's $165.
Okay, great. So we want to thank Rohan and Morgan for joining us today. And if you need any further assistance, don't be afraid to reach out to us. You can go on our website. Our website is jm.usembassy.gov. Feel free to message us, or you can email the ACS department at
KingstonACS@state.gov.
And they will answer you within 10 working days. So anything at all you have to ask, don't be afraid to message us. We are here for you to assist you. So reach out to us and we will contact you. I am Davel. Thank you, Rohan and Morgan, for coming on board today.
Pleasure.
And that was your consular communications. Until next time, Jamaica, walk good.